So I've had a fun afternoon figuring out how to do the following. Here I created a demo website and then I had this background image here. When you hover on these tiles down the bottom, we're going to change the background image of the section to match the content of the tile. So for example, if I reload the page here, I want it to default to the surfing background because the surfing's the first tile. But if we hover on skateboarding, we can change the background image of this section to be about skateboarding and then snowboarding, roller skating, and kayaking. Now, this is just one example that I came up with to make today's video. This is a sporting goods store where you hover and these are all the different categories of items they sell. But another example that I've seen out in the wild is if you're a service-based business. So maybe you do house cleaning and you offer different services. So for example, if we went to Google, typed house cleaning Sydney, and then just clicked on one of the organic ones here, so Simply Spotless. Here under services, we have office cleaning, commercial cleaning, and home cleaning. So here we could have office cleaning and a picture of an office in the background. When you hover on home cleaning, it could change to a picture of somebody's house and so on. Now each of these could click through to any URL, so I'm going to show you how to do all of that. But let's jump into Bricks Builder and see how this is currently set up, and then we'll get into creating this all from scratch. So here I am in Bricks Builder, and you can see we're going to have a section with a container in there. And then inside this container, we have the heading, which is going to obviously be this call to action here, or the title of the page. And then we have our tiles in there. And then inside there, we have surfing, skateboarding, snowboarding, roller skating, and so on. And then inside each of these blocks, we have the title, and then we have the basic text, which for this example is the shop now. Now, the way that we're going to actually achieve this, where we can hover on these buttons here and change the background image, is using the new interactions feature inside of Bricks Builder. So for example, if I go up to say skateboarding and we go over to here where it says interactions and we click here and we go here, you can see that when you hover on this skateboarding element here, this block, when you hover, we're going to set a custom attribute to skateboarding on our hero banner. And then on our hero banner over here, if we go to CSS, and then under style, you can see we have a little bit of CSS here. It's really nothing too complex. I think it's just if you are brand new to Bricks Builder or you're not fully comfortable with CSS, you should be able to follow along here. There's nothing really overly complex. You can see that this is basically the same code just repeated for all the different tiles here. But let's jump in and actually go and set this up, and let's get this created inside of Bricks Builder, starting with a blank page. So let's go here and let's go up to our dashboard, and then let's go down to pages, and we're going to add a new page. And I'm going to set this to home page with tiles, and I'm going to go publish, and then we will edit with bricks. Now let's go ahead and add a section into the page, and I'm just going to save this. And now let's quickly set this as our homepage in WordPress. So to do that in our dashboard, we'll go down to settings and then reading, and then here set a static page. Our homepage, we want to set it with the homepage with tiles that we just created, and go save changes. So now if I visit my homepage, you can see it is a blank page. So now let's go back into editing that page inside of Bricks Builder, and let's start building. So the first thing that we want to do is for this section here, let's just rename it to Hero Banner. And then inside the container, let's go ahead and add a heading element there. So this is going to be our main title on the page. And the text for this is just going to be, we sell high quality sporting goods for all seasons. Next, let's go ahead and add a block element into here. And then this is going to be our wrapper for our tiles. And then inside here, let's go ahead and add a block. So we'll add that there. And I'm just going to call this surfing. So that's going to be our first tile. And then inside there, we're going to have a heading. And this heading, let's change it to say a H4. And we'll actually go back and make this one a H1. Now back here on this heading, let's update the text to say surfing. And then inside here, we're also going to add basic text. So we'll add that in there. This basic text will say shop now. So now let's go ahead and set our default background for the section before we go in and start making all the other tiles and doing all the interactivity. So here I'm going to click on the section, and I'm going to go to style and then background, and I'm going to go select image. And then the default's going to be this image here for surfing. So we'll just go insert. So there it is there. And then we want to go through and set some settings here. So for the background position, let's go center. Background repeat, let's say no repeating. And for background size, let's set this for a custom, and its size is going to be 1600 pixels wide, and we can try 1000 pixels tall. That's just really preference based on the design that I'm setting up today. You can change these based on the images you're uploading, how big they are, and so on. Now, for this effect to really look as best as it possibly could, I would recommend cropping all your images here that you're using for your background to be the same pixel dimensions. But now that we've got our default background here set on the section, let's go down here to our tile for surfing, and I'll just write tile surfing, and then let's start styling this tile. So I'm going to want all these tiles to be the same look and feel, same background and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and create a global class in Bricks Builder. So let's go up to here and we'll create a new class, and I'm just going to call this hero banner underscore new tile and press enter. And then for this, the background color, let's set it to a white color, and we'll give it a little bit of transparency so we can get that effect of seeing the background behind it like that. And then let's go to layout, and for the padding, let's try 1 ems all the way around. And then inside this block element here, we have the heading and the basic text. Let's go ahead and sit these in the middle of the tile in the center. So let's click back onto the tile, and then we want to go down to here, align cross axis, and we're going to click center, and now that's centered inside the tile. If you're wondering how I managed to center these children element by clicking on the parent and then knowing to click on this icon over here, that's how Flexbox in CSS works. And if you want to learn more about that, I would highly recommend going and watching this video here, Learn Bricks Builder plus Flexbox in 12 minutes. I go through exactly how to go and do what I just showed you. But coming back here, I'm not going to spend too much time focusing on the style in today's video. I really just want to show you how to get the functionality and the interactivity of changing the background image of this section when you hover on each tile. So let's leave the styling here for now like this. And then let's just go back to this main heading and style this quickly. So let's center this on the page. So let's go up to the parent element and we'll go back to content. And then let's click to center it on the page. So now that's centered. And then we'll click on the heading and we'll go to style, and let's change the color of the typography to a white. And then here under typography, let's go down to text shadow, and let's click here and let's set one. So we can make it a black color, and we're not going to offset it, and we might make it, let's just set this to something like 10. And let's quickly change the font size to something a bit larger, and also the line height. And then let's just center the text. And then let's add some spacing between here. So if I collapse that, to add spacing between these two children items here, the heading and the wrapper for the tiles, we'll click on the parent and then content. And then because this parent container is display flex, and its flex direction is vertical, so the main axis is going down the page. Because its flex direction is a column, the children inside there are rows, so we can come down here to row gap, and I'll just exaggerate this to something like 100 em, and you can see it adds the spacing there. So let's do something like 3 rem, and you can see we've added 3 rems of spacing between there. If you're not sure what column gap, row gap, and flex direction do, I definitely recommend going and checking out this video on my YouTube. The gap setting in Bricks Builder does more than you think. I go through exactly how to use that, how to know when to use row gap, column gap, and so on. It is very important to understand these things. The more you understand what these things are doing down here, the faster you'll be able to build websites, and the better your websites will be. But with that done, let's go ahead and make this section fill up more of our browser window. So I'm going to click on the section, and then here under the style tab, I'm going to go to layout, and then where it says height, I'm going to do something like 70% of the viewport height. So 70 VH. That's going to take up 70% of my browser window. And now we just need to get this heading and get the tiles and put them down the bottom here. So the way that we can do that is using Flexbox. So on this section, inside this container, we have the heading and those tiles. So we actually want to move this whole container and put it at the bottom of this section. So to do that, we click on the section, go here to content, and then here on the main axis, we want to put it at the end. And again, if you're not sure why I did that, this video here, Learn Bricks Builder plus Flexbox in 12 minutes, is really going to help you understand that. So with all of that done, we're ready to start doing the interactivity here where we can start adding more tiles and adding the hover effects. So let's come back into here and let's go into our wrapper for our tiles. And we have this one tile here. Let's go ahead and duplicate this tile, and we'll get 2 tiles working. And then all we have to do the rest of the tiles is just duplicate and duplicate again. So here I'm going to right click and go duplicate. And this one here is going to be for skateboarding. So I'm going to copy the text from there and I'm going to put skateboarding down there. So with these two tiles here, let's go ahead and sit them next to each other. So to do that, we're going to come up to their parent and then here under content, because they're display flex, we can just go flex direction and sit them next to each other on the row. So now they're sat next to each other, and let's add some spacing between them. So to do that, we can come down to column gap and let's just go 1 rem, and that adds some spacing between them. So let's go ahead and save this. And previewing it on the front end, the first thing that I notice is that when we hover here, we don't get the cursor because these aren't hyperlinked. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go and click on our tile here. Now, the way that I do this is as follows, and let me know in the comments below if there's a better, more semantic way to do this, because we are going to have like an anchored HTML element wrapping block element. So I'm not sure if it's the best, but yeah, definitely let me know if you would do things differently from what I'm about to do. So to go back here and link this, what I would probably do is change the HTML tag to something like a link. And then the link type, it could be to wherever you want. For here, let's just say we're going to an external URL, and this might go to our surfing category or surfing page. So now if we save that and go back to the front end and reload. So this is the one where we didn't do it and we didn't have any links there. And then if I hover on this one over here, you can see we get the cursor. And if I click, that takes us to /surfing, which isn't a page, but it seems to be working. If we right click and have a look at the code here, this is what we just did. So we have our block, which is our wrapper here. And then inside our wrapper, we have our tile, which is now an anchor tag. And then inside there, we have a H4 and a div. But yeah, definitely let me know how you would go and do it. Again, I always want to learn the best way to do things. For this tutorial, I'm just going to go ahead and do that for now. But definitely check out the comments below to see if there is a better way to link that. So I'm going to click on the tile skateboarding here, and we're going to change this to an A link. And then this is going to go to an external URL, and we'll just do /skateboarding. And now if we save that, and go here and reload. Now when we hover, we should get the cursor, which is the hand, to let us know that we can click on the element. So that's all done. So let's go back. And now let's go ahead and get this background image changing when we hover on each of these tiles. So I'm going to collapse that and collapse that. So the first tile is surfing. And we actually don't want to do anything on the surfing tile for now. Let's start off with the skateboarding tile. And what we want to do is go over here, and where it says interactions, we want to click. And if you're not seeing this, you might need to update your version of Bricks Builder. It came in like the second latest version of it. It's extremely powerful. But here we can go ahead and add interactions. So let's add an interaction, and this interaction is going to be triggered when we hover. So when we hover on this, we want to go here and set an attribute. And then for the key, you can name this anything that you want. For me, I'm going to call this custom BG for custom background, and its value is going to be skateboarding. And then by default, it's targeting itself. So if I actually left that on self, I'll show you what that does. So let's save that and go back here and reload the page. So if I right click and inspect element, and we have a look at the code here. So if I go down and I find that block for the skateboarding, which is this one here, watch what happens when I hover on it in the code down here. So when I hover on it, see how it added this attribute custom BG equals skateboarding, and it added it to itself. So when I hovered on it, it added it to itself. We actually don't want to do that. We want to add this attribute to the banner, the hero banner. So the way that we do that is come back here, and we're going to click on the section banner, and then we'll click to exit the interactions, and we're going to give this a class. So up here, I'm going to give this the class hero banner. And then down here on my tile, back in the interactions builder, I'm going to click to open this again. When I hover on it, I'm going to set the attribute for custom background to skateboarding, so skateboarding. And the target element that I want to do this on is going to be the element with a CSS selector of .hero banner. And this CSS class here is the CSS class we applied to the main banner up here, hero-banner. So now if I save that and we go to the front end and reload the page, and I find the hero banner, which is here. Now, when I hover on this skateboarding tile, watch what happens over here to the hero banner. So when I hover, it added this custom attribute, custom BG equals skateboarding to it. So that's all working now as we want it to. So let's go back. And now when we hover on this, we're adding a custom attribute up here, we can use that to change the background image. And the way that we do that is we can click on this section, the hero banner, and we go to style, and we can collapse that and go down to CSS, and we can go down here and write some custom CSS. So here we could write root. And if you have a look at what root does, use root to target the element wrapper, which means if I write root, I'm basically, when the page tries to generate the CSS code, root will be replaced with this element here. So root, and then to target a custom attribute, we want to open square brackets, and we want to write custom background equals, and then in here you put the value, so it would be skateboarding, and then here we'd open it up. So it's just normal CSS, and actually I spelled this wrong, it's custom BG for background. And then here we want to change the background image, and then we want to change it to the URL for the image for our skateboarding image. So let's go ahead and get that from the media library. So in the dashboard, let's go to library. So here we can actually click copy URL to clipboard and paste it up there, and we'll just get the relative URL here. And then back here, we can write URL like that. And then inside here, inside some quotes, we can paste the URL, and now that should work. So let's click save. And now on the front end, if we reload the page and hover on skateboarding, we should see this background change to the URL for the skateboarding image. So we'll hover on here, and now that is working. So just to quickly recap how this is working before we go and duplicate the skateboarding tile to all the other ones, because it is a little bit of copying and pasting. Let's understand at the core what's going on and what we've set up so far. So I'm going to reload the page, and this section background image is the default image for the surfing image. And so that's the image. If we click on the section and we went up under background, that is that image there. Next, for the tile, under the interactions and hover, we set that when we hover on this tile, we're going to set the attribute, this custom attribute, to the value skateboarding, and we're going to set that on the element that has a CSS class of hero banner, which is our hero banner. So we hover on this, and our custom background equals skateboarding gets added to our hero banner. And then here we added some custom CSS. If we have a look down, for when this item has this custom attribute equal skateboarding, we change the background image. So now that we've set that up, let's go ahead and set up one more tile, because it is a little bit of duplicating. And then we're going to look at the final thing that brings this all together, which is how do we go and treat this first tile? Because you need to do it a little bit differently. So firstly, let's go ahead and add one more tile. So I'm going to right click and go duplicate, and let's call this one snowboarding. And I'm going to change the text down here to snowboarding. And then on this tile, I'll go to the content. I'm going to change it to link to our snowboarding page, which isn't set up. And then for this snowboarding tile, we go to the interactions, we open the hover, and then here, because we duplicated this tile from the skateboarding, this is all set up already. And that's why you really need to get one of these set up before you go and duplicate them. Otherwise, it's going to be doing a lot of extra work. But now that we have this set up, we just go through here. When we hover on this element here, we want to set the custom background attribute to snowboarding on the element that has a CSS class hero-banner, which is our main section. Then we just click back into our section here, and we get out of the interactions, and we go and add some more CSS down here. So I'm just going to copy this, and we're going to paste that. And now we're saying when the custom background equals snowboarding, then we need to change it to the image for the snowboarding. So back here in our media library, let's find snowboarding, which is here. So I'm going to copy the URL, and I'm just going to put up here, and I'm just going to get the relative URL. So copy, and back here, I'm just going to overwrite that with that. Now, if you're wondering why I get the relative URL, it's just the way that I've always worked instead of just hard coding the full domain name in there. It's just mainly habit, I think. But now that we've done that, let's go ahead and save that. And then back here on the front end, let's go ahead and reload the page. And so now this loads. When we hover on skateboarding, that image changes to skateboarding. When we hover on snowboarding, it changes to that. If we go back, that works. If we go back, that works. Now, if we want to add this smooth transition between them, all we need to do is come back here, and for our custom CSS on the section, we can just go down and write root like that, which again at runtime is just going to replace the word root with an identifier for this section. And then we'll open that up like that. And then we just want want to write transition 0.3 seconds all. So now if we save that and go to the front end and reload the page, and I just pull this down a little bit, we just should get a smooth fade in and out like that. So you can see smooth between them. Now, finally, when we hover back on the surfing, you can see nothing's happening. These two change, but nothing's happening there. Now, if we pull this up and we hover on skateboarding, remember it adds custom BG equals skateboarding to our hero section. If we go down here and edit the code and just remove that, so I just remove all of that for now, and we get out of that, you can see it reverts back to the surfing image. So really what we need to do logically is when we hover on this surfing tile here, we just need to remove that custom BG attribute that we add. So to do that, we come back to here and we're going to go back to the tile for surfing, and we're going to go to the interactions builder, and we're going to add an interaction. And here we're going to say when we hover on this tile, we want to remove the attribute custom BG, and we want to remove it from the item that has a CSS class of .hero banner. And I accidentally just clicked that. We don't want to do that. So now if we save this and go to the front end of our website, and I just pull that down a little bit and we reload the page. Okay, if we have a look, keep an eye down here on our hero banner. So it's just loaded. There's no custom attribute for the custom BG attribute. When I go and hover on skateboarding, now we've added that there. When I hover on snowboarding, we've added that there. And then if I go to surfing, it should remove it. So if we go over to here, it removes that custom attribute and it gets restored to that. So now when we go through all of them, it should work as you want it to. And just coming back up here, the final thing to make it look like the design that I showed you at the start of today's video is just add a bit of margin top and bottom. So let's go back here into this section, and then we'll go out of the interactions builder, style tab, and the margin top, we might do for rem top and bottom. Click save, and then back here, let's go ahead and reload. Now we have some spacing around it. So this should all be working. If we wanted to, we could click through to the individual pages. So if that was a shop, it could go to a collection of surfing products. This one could go to skateboarding. But yeah, really easy way to go out and do something like this. And the tip for doing this is just make sure all your images are cropped at the same dimensions. I just quickly downloaded these images from unsplash.com, which is a free stock image library. So I don't think these are exactly the right dimensions, the same dimensions. But yeah, it's just an easy thing for you to do. Just crop all your images, upload them to the media library, make sure they're the same width and height, and this should be really easy to achieve. If you want to learn more about this interactions feature inside of Bricks Builder and see another example of something really cool that you can set up using it, I definitely recommend going and watching this video here, the new interactions feature in Bricks Builder. I show you a really cool introduction to how it works and a way that you might want to use it in your website, as well as the example that I've shown you today. As well as what I've shown you today, don't forget to go and check out those other videos, how to use Flexbox and how the gap setting works. I will leave them in the description below under this video and on the screen right now. So on this video now, click on one of these and I'll see you guys in one of those videos.